Hello there. On your screen is a quick reminder of the ethnic makeup of New Zealanders as at the last census. Not the current one, where you and I missed out on our supermarket vouchers and sporting tickets because we were simply diligent as opposed to feckless and lazy. The previous one, without splitting too many hairs, those of European heritage are about 5 times that of Asian descent. Yet, when we look at the crime rates per 100,000, oh my god! Proportionally, Asians only have a 20% rate of committing a violent crime compared to the Europeans. That's a significant difference. So how could this disparity between offending rates of European New Zealanders and Asian New Zealanders arise? Well, my thinking went down 2 lines. Firstly, it could be down to simply genetics combined with cultural reasons. Second explanation is that the police see Europeans as having a greater chance of committing a crime, therefore focus their attention disproportionately upon them. It was easy, though, to write off the first explanation. We already know, via the government and media, cultures are relative. There are no inherently good or superior cultures, no inherently inferior cultures. Plus, we are told that all races are born with the same IQs on average. The South Pacific was a veritable inventive breeding ground for most items we take for granted today. Therefore, to suggest either cultural reasons or genetics are behind Europeans being in court more than Asians in New Zealand must be, vis-a-vis, considered a racist conspiracy theory. More so when we take into account the systems were historically ones created by Europeans. We see this rationale applied all the time, but with Maori over-offending, and the proposition that the system favours Europeans, therefore the same should apply across the racial spectrum to account for anomalies. Perplexingly, I've yet to see a political statement or news article urging the government to do more to close the gap between Asian students and European ones. Indeed, embracing Maori culture, we are told, is part of the solution, not the problem when it comes to crime and education. Never know European culture when they are relegated below Asians. This, therefore, leaves us with just the second explanation. New Zealand police have an unconscious bias towards Europeans. More evidence, indeed, the systematic racism permeates the whole criminal justice system. It doesn't just affect Maori. The coppers hear of a burglary and see 2 groups of young men wandering in the vicinity of the crime, one Asian and one European. They collar the Europeans first, knowing if they got it wrong, they can always backtrack to the slow-moving Asian teens weighed down with their heavy schoolbooks. This bias leads to Asians behind the wheels of expensive European 4-wheel drives, the ones with unintelligible number plates, largely avoiding police attention, even when failing to signal entirely during a 20-kilometre journey whilst driving at a consistently annoying 35 kilometres per hour around the entire town. Largely the case today. Meanwhile, some poor white guy with a sleeve tattoo driving an unregistered 93 Holden is unnecessarily pulled over for an outstanding arrest warrant. This pale, cis male is outraged at this injustice. Not that the police are entirely to blame here, nor do I actually know what cis means. Some of this systemic racism against New Zealand Europeans starts at school. The outcomes speak for themselves. New Zealand teachers go out of their way to give Asians extra lessons in maths, make up for the agrarian family backgrounds, cultural disadvantages they have, often coming to a foreign land with a foreign language. Classroom bias sees Europeans perform comparatively worse. Physics, chemistry are also subjects teachers give priority to Asian students in. Here are the duxes from my local high school, which I attended, and where 3 of my children also went. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. A shocking disparity, I know. Christchurch being close to 80% European, those students being entirely drawn from the same community. Then the administrators extend the same sort of colour biases towards sports, giving priority to Pacific Islanders when picking the first 15. This disconnection with European culture amongst Kiwi youth means that being white in the year 2023, even getting into the school orchestra, is now a challenge. Hard to deny any of this. The education system is therefore riddled with anti-European racism, and thus we see these disparities. The police are only picking up the pieces outside the school gates, the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. Now the hard bit: how do we correct this glaring injustice in our justice system? Here's my penny's worth. New Zealand police need to throw away their Pokemon cards, stop driving Toyotas outside work, introduce proactive policies, fostering staff to connect with their European culture, like going on excursions to art galleries, listening to Beethoven on patrols. Where applicable, encourage constabulary to embrace their European heritage. The district police forces can regionalise this process. Police authorities in, say, Gore, for example, could arrange for staff to attend a banjo recital. In the Waikato, re-education could extend to the force attending a Metallica tribute concert. Then the police need to go on the front foot and get those Asian figures up to where they should be. Which shouldn't be too hard. I mean, there's usually 3 or 4 generations under the same roof. They'll still be working at 8 o'clock at night. Go undercover, for example, to Yum Chars, forget gang funerals, bust chemistry lectures instead. For any fellow pasty Kiwis watching this video, it's election year. Let your local candidate know you're not happy with the way things are when it comes to crime and education. Go on the European roll. Let your discontented voice be heard. Write to the rugby union and tell them you are ditching Sky until the selectors pick a team that's 75% white. Indicative of New Zealand demographics. When you see a patrol car going down your street, let the coppers be fully conversant. This straight broke is no pushover. You pigs won't be stitching up this whitey today. By yelling "white power" as loud as you can, gesticulating with rigid arms, all whilst filming on your cell phone for auditing purposes. I will leave my details on the channel's info page. Happy to do a $300 culture assessment for your court case. Oh yeah, in my follow-up videos, I'll expose how F1 teams deliberately ignore Asian drivers. Rap music is a positive influence amongst South Pacific communities, and how KFC makes a nutritious breakfast. Bye for now.